What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Base Damage. Hope you're all doing well. And today we're going to be bringing to you a Sora deck, focusing mainly on this particular Tokino Sora and trying to get out as many copies as possible. There's another version of this deck utilizing the Miko level 1 standby, and that's what I was running initially. I said, wait, there's some other fun stuff. Ozki gets shoved into the Gura builds. Let's see how this works with her. And honestly, the results were pretty cool. I was very glad at how well this worked out. So let's get right into it. So the deck is obviously red-green with a little bit of one singular blue card. That's whatever. But the main thing right here is this particular Tokino Sora. And there's a lot of cards in here that work with this. Also, sorry, before I do continue, I know I got a comment on a video recently saying, oh, I made one of your decks, but I couldn't use it exactly in the JP format. I make everything for English format, so just to state really quick, in the JP currently, you cannot run this level 3 Sora with this particular level 0 Sora. So just to go ahead and say, if you want to swap this out for something else, you can. But I'm just saying you really can't play this in the JP format because of that restriction. So just, sorry, carry on. Let's do this. So Towards the Future Together, Tokino Sora is a 3/2/9K. If you have 2 or more other Hololive characters, this card gets plus 2K power, so she'll be an 11 just constantly, which is like really nice. Then she has an effect when this card is placed on the stage from your hand or deck. You may pay 1 stock. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 Towards the Future Together Tokino Sora and put it on any position of your stage and shuffle your deck. Literally letting you summon multiple copies of this for just 1 stock each is kind of crazy. And you deck thin, just really powerful. The big thing, though, is the Climax combo, which is the whole reason we try to pull off what we can with this deck. The Climax combo is when Azora no Symphony is placed on your Climax area. If this card is in your center stage and you have 4 or more other Hololive characters, this gets plus 1000 power and the following ability until the end of your opponent's next turn. At the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, choose one of your opponent's characters. That character gets -2 soul until the end of turn. So, a couple things to note with this in particular. Azora no Symphony, first off, is the gold bar of the deck. So if you play this, you attack with the 3 Soras, you trigger another gold bar, you do the same shit next turn, which is really funny. Because being able to have 3 of these on field and give each of your opponent's characters -2 soul is going to ensure that you can probably live. Now, the biggest thing for this is you do have to watch out for hexproof. I'm just going to go ahead and state that before anyone in the comments is like, but what about hexproof characters? We know. So, yeah, you have to worry about characters that are hexproofed because it does target, but I feel the pros outweigh the cons for this because there's a lot of other fun cards we're going to get to in a moment. The next one we have is this particular level 3 Ayame. I swapped it out from a Marin that I was running, but this seemed a bit more useful in terms of utility. It's a 3/2/8/5 Demon Pop Nakiri Ayame. If your waiting room has 2 or less climaxes, this gets -1 level while in your hand, but you're not really going to be worrying about the early play aspect of it so much, but it is there. It's nice to, just to have it. When this card is placed on stage from your hand and you have another Hololive character, this gets 2k power till the end of your opponent's next turn, so she'll be a 10/5. It's kind of whatever. When this card is placed on the stage from your hand, choose one of the following effects and perform it. Either look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck and choose 1 card amongst them, put into your hand, put the rest into your waiting room, maybe trying to dig for more climaxes or something for the Sora effect. Or you can put the top card of your clock into your waiting room. An alternate healer as well as digger is just kind of good, and it's a really cheap double rare. But we have another Ayame here, is Towards the Future Together Nakiri Ayame. It has an experience effect. If you have a yellow and blue card in level, you can early play it, but we don't run that. This is just a standby target for the most part. You can hard cast this at level 3 for the other effect, but most of the time you're going to be trying to summon this, like maybe back row or something. It's a 3/2/6K. All of your other Hololive characters get 1500 power. And when this card is placed on stage from your hand, perform the following action 2 times. People refer to this as leveling down. You may choose one of your opponent's level 1 or higher characters. If you do, your opponent chooses one level X or lower character in their waiting room and exchanges them. And X is equal to the level of the character you chose -1. So if you choose one of your opponent's level 3 characters, they need to choose a level 2 character or lower and summon it where that character was. Repeat process. If they have a 2, they have to summon a 1 or less, type thing. Making it so you can get some annoying things off the field, and your opponent purposely has to summon something weaker. Just saying, it is really good, and it's just a nice little tech just to have. We also have Miko Art. Sakura Miko is a 3/2/3/5. All of your characters in front of this gain 2k power. On play, you can heal 1, and you can brainstorm, pay 1, tap 2, mill 4. For each climax, you get search your deck for a Hololive character. I wanted to include maybe another brainstormer in here. There is like a Hachima backup that is also a brainstormer. You could substitute maybe one of the copies of the Miko here for that, just saying. Then we have another Miko is Half Awake Gaze. Sakura Miko is a 3/2/3/5. On play, you can heal 1, so extra heal is always good. When this card becomes reversed in battle, you may return this card to your hand. So it can just freely bounce back, play it again next turn to heal again. When this card becomes reversed in battle, if you have another Hololive character, and this battle opponent is 3 or lower, you can reverse that battle opponent. So it's a level 3 and lower reverser. You just don't see that much. I thought this was a really fun thing to add in. And it is also really nice if you're able to just like stand by this in and then just like ram it into something and it bounces back to your hand. You get to play it and heal, and just saying, it's pretty cool. There's also another card you could swap this out with if you so desired. There was a level 3 this Doggo Korone. There's a level 3 Korone that does something very similar that you could also put. This is so the other last level 3 is Together with You at the Beachside Town Oski is a 3/2/10,500. It has a global 15 to all of your other Hololive characters, so this is a really, really good target. Honestly, if you wanted to drop this all together, but I wanted to keep a brainstormer in, kind of, if you could just bump this up to 3, and then just it's global 15, which is just so nice. And it has an effect at the beginning of your encore step. If this card is in your center stage, there are no characters in your opponent's center stage, or all of their characters are reversed, you can pitch 2 cards from hand. If you do, deal 1 damage to your opponent, and then look at the top card of your deck. Put it on top of your deck or into your waiting room, and this gets 1,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So a little bit of buff, a little bit of extra burn, and you get knowledge of what the top card of your deck is going to be. It's really nice. A little bit of an off finisher, pretty cool. But like I said, the global buff is really nice. So I also realized my head's covering that. Yeah, sorry, I got to get used to using the avatar for the deck profiles, but either way, obviously you get to see it when I do this. So. Alright, so getting to the level 2s. This is a card that I said I wanted to try to include in more builds as long as I had green. Okami Mio is a 2/1/7k. The first effect doesn't really apply because we don't run any events in here, but if you wanted to include events in your version of the deck, you could. It says, when this card attacks, choose one of your other Hololive characters. That character gets X power until end of turn. X is equal to the number of event cards in your waiting room times 1,500. So if you have at least one event, you get to give a 1,500 bonus or whatever. So this can get big if you have multiple events in your waiting room. You could honestly give really big buffs with this. It's kind of cool. The main thing we run this for is the Act ability she has. Act. Pitch a Hololive character from your hand to the waiting room. Reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a Hololive character, this gets the following ability until end of turn. If this card would attack, you may choose one character in your opponent's backstage, and this card frontal attacks that character as the defending character instead. In a recent video I made talking about needing more back row removal, I discovered this card in my search for like different effects and whatnot, and I just felt this was like a really good card to start including in more decks. So I'm at least teching 1, but if you like it, you could maybe bump it up to 2. You run an event-based version, you could run more copies. I'm just saying. The next is one of the big cards of the deck. We have Sora Art Tokino Sora. A 2/145. It's a level assist in front, so 500 times the number of that character's level. And when this card is placed on stage from your hand, you can discard a card to add back a copy of the level 3 Sora from waiting room to hand. And then it has a change effect, and this is where you get some spicy shit. At the beginning of your climax phase, you may pay the cost, which is 2 stock and sacking this particular level 2. If you do, choose one copy of the level 3 Sora in your hand and put it on the stage position that this card was on, and that character gets 1,000 power till end of turn. So the big thing for this is it doesn't have a restriction on, like, a lot of change effects, like say the Suisei people are running, that do the little flicker effect to bounce characters in and out. She has a level 0 that can change her in, but her effect states if your level is 2 or higher, she gets that effect. This doesn't have that effect, so The spicy thing is that you could summon it with the standby and summon it in the backstage at level 1. If you somehow survive and don't go to level 2, as long as you have 4 stock, you can sack this to summon a copy, and then pay 1 more stock, summon another, and then you have a field full, a center stage full of 3 level 3s at level 1. That is the dream that you're going for with this deck, and I pulled it off a lot of times. But even if you don't pull that off until level 2, that's still perfectly fine. But you basically just need to go like with 4 stock and you pull off the combo, so it's all good. And then you can just start doing the negative soul shenanigans and your opponent cries. So, like, well, you're not doing damage to me for at least a turn or at least a level or 2, you know? So this is a mandatory 4 of. I do heavily feel this needs to be as many copies as possible, especially because you can also summon like more copies behind the Soras once you get this rolling. And then you have the level assist as well, where they just get so big because of that. All right, so continuing on with the level 2s, we have Wishing for a Future with You, Irani EO15. I think this card's just not run that much, but it's a 2500 backup, or you can summon it. You can summon it and it becomes a anti-change clock swap reverser. So you could just run it into stuff if your opponent has something out that they shouldn't, and just say, oh, we're going to clock swap it, guaranteed removal. Really nice. I don't really see people running this. It's from the premium booster. Well, start running it, people. But we do have the other anti-change that people love to run, which is Hoshimachi Suisei, who grants wishes, is a 2/1 2500 backup. When you use this card's backup, you may pay the cost, which is discarding any 2 cards from your hand to the waiting room. If you do, choose one of your opponent's characters with a level higher than their level and put it at the bottom of their deck. I will say, of the anti-change backups, this is probably the best one, but I do like to have the reverser as well, because if you really needed a target to summon off of like a standby or something, you could just play this in the back. You could just summon this and be like, okay, well, if my opponent does some early play shenanigans, we're going to get rid of that shit. So, just saying. That is it for the 2s. We're going to get on to the 1s. The first one is this 1/155 Nakiri Art Scrolls Nakiri Ayame. This is just your typical level 1 target for your standby shenanigans. If you have 2 or more other Hololive characters, this gets 2k power, making her a 7500 with character encore. Just really good. 4 copies of Elite Power Sakura Miko is a trial deck card, just saying. It's a 104k if you have 2 or more other Hololive characters. She gets a constant 2k buff, making her a 106k. With a very interesting clock encore. It's not your typical like deal a damage from the top of the deck. It's put a Hololive character from your waiting room at the bottom of your clock for the encore. So you don't have to worry about taking damage from the top of the deck and questioning like, oh, is it gonna be a climax? Is it gonna be something else I don't want? You can purposely grab stuff that you know is not gonna really hinder you. So really nice to have that. And that is it for the 1s. We're gonna get to the 0s because we have a bunch of very interesting utility in here. First off, Relaxing by the Pool Okami Mio is a 0/500. When this is placed on stage from your hand, look at up to 2 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 cards from amongst them, put them on top of your deck in any order, and put the rest into your waiting room. This speaks volumes for like any kind of standby deck. Being able to know what your triggers are going to be, or just going, oh look, 2 standby targets that I want to get into the waiting room. Get the fuck out of here, and now we have some fresh, cards we can probably hit some standby triggers or the gold bar or whatever. Then it has an effect when this card is placed on stage from your hand or put into your waiting room from the stage. You can pay 1, pitch 1, search your deck for a Hololive character. So on play or on death, search, very nice. Especially if you want to play it like early, like say your first hand or whatever. You can play this and swing with it without having to feel like you wasted a card or anything. You can purposely just save it for when it dies and then still pay the cost, and you're good. Get all the stuff that you need. Honestly, if you wanted to bump this up to 4, you could. You have Tokina Sora, the Brainstormer. It is a pay 1, tap self, brainstorm, mill 4. For each climax, you get to salvage back a character. But it also has another very interesting effect. If your opponent somehow is able to get over your level 3 Soras in some shape, form, or fashion, she has an ability. When your other 0th generation character is put into your waiting room from your stage, you can pay 1 stock and sack this card. If you do, return that character to its previous stage position as rested, and that character gets 3k power until the end of the next turn. which is just really, really crazy. That you could just summon it back, and then the Sora gets an extra 3k buff. It just gets massive. So being able to save those is, I feel it needs to be a mandatory 4 of. It's just too useful not to. We have Towards the Future Together, Shirakami Fubuki, another really good starter card. It's a 001k. When this card is placed on stage from your hand, choose a Hololive character. It gets 1500 power till end of turn. Good buffs. And when this card is put into your waiting room from your stage, you can discard a card to look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Choose one level 1 or higher card amongst them, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and put the rest into your waiting room. So obviously you're going to be trying to get, say your targets and stuff like that and other cards milled. Because it does say level 1 or higher card, if you put events in the deck, for the Mio, once again, you can grab those with this. You just can't grab climaxes. 2 copies of Professor of Manners, Tokiyami Towa. This is kind of a little interesting splash, just kind of for the hell of it. But wanted a little bit extra green at level 0, and this kind of fit the bill. But it is a 001k. When this card attacks, choose one of your other Hololive characters. It gets 1500 power and character encore until the end of your opponent's next turn. So a nice little buff there, as well as character encore could be very useful depending on what you need to keep on the field or whatever. It's just kind of nice to have a little bit extra there. Then we have 2 copies of Perfect Measures Taken Roboko-san. It has 2 different effects. So on play, you can return 2 Hololive characters from your waiting room back to your deck and shuffle your deck. And if you do choose one of your Hololive characters, it gets 1000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. The biggest thing for this is being able to play this and shuffle copies of the Sora level 3 back into the deck, so that when you do the combo, you can summon 3 guaranteed. So that's the biggest reason for this card being put in here. But it also has the nice effect of when you play a climax, you can bounce this back to hand to choose a character and give it 1000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So just being able to do the typical, I play a standby, this bounces back, repeat process. So, and then lastly, 3 copies of A Step Towards the Future Ozki. Most people only run this at 2 copies in the Gura deck, but it's whatever. I wanted to keep it at 3 just for a little bit of consistency. So 3 copies of it is a 002k. When this is placed on stage from hand, choose one of your other Hololive characters. It gets 1000 power until the end of the turn. And then this has an effect when you play the standby right here, which is Repeat This Life with You. You can pay the cost, which is bouncing this particular Ozki back to your hand and sacking the standby. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 Hololive character, reveal it to your opponent, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. Thing is, even though you sack the climax, it doesn't negate the effect from going off. So you get to play the climax and do this effect, and then still summon something off of the standby effect. It doesn't stop it from going off. So, but yeah, that is obviously something common that people probably know playing against the Ozki Gura version. So, and that is going to be it for the deck, with 4 copies of Alzora No Symphony and 4 copies of Repeat This Life with You. And that is going to be the deck. This one has been sitting on the back burner for a minute, but I very much enjoy it. It's such a fun deck when you can drop the 3 level 3s at level 1. And then, like, there's a lot of decks that don't run level 1 anti-changes. I know Kaguya-sama has one, Love Live has one, and there's a couple others, but for the most part, people really don't run, like, there's not a lot of decks or sets that have level 1 anti-change. So you do have to, like, be a little mindful that, like, hey, you know, what if this is a set you're not familiar with? Maybe they have it, maybe they don't. But that's whatever. It's just really cool to be able to do that and then just watch your opponent go, wait, what? What do you mean I'm not doing damage to you for a whole turn? You know, that's whatever. But at the same time, if you have 3 level 3s out that are all early played, yeah, sure, play as much of your, like, anti-change backups as you want and just waste so many resources. I don't fucking care at that point. But with that, that is going to be it for us. Thank you all very much for watching. It is greatly appreciated. Link for the deck will be in the description, and we will see y'all on the flip side. Peace out for now.